Ladies, listen carefully. Not every makeup brush is safe, and not every artist has clean hands. Sometimes the place you sit for makeup is the same place where your destiny can be exchanged. This is not just a story, it's a warning. This is the story of Elizabeth Adeyemi, a beautiful young woman who had waited all her life for her wedding day. The hall was filled with colors, drums, laughter, and blessings. But her destiny was snatched in the most unthinkable way. Just because of makeup? One mistake she made was sitting on a makeup chair she should never have sat on, allowing a strange hand to touch her face. Stay with me till the end, because this story will open your eyes. It will show you why, as a woman, you must be careful where you do your makeup and who you allow to touch your face. What happened to Elizabeth could happen to anyone. Before we'll begin this gripping true story, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like this video and comment where you are watching from. The sun was setting slowly over Lagos, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and purple. Music filled the air. The courtyard of Christ Covenant Hall was alive with color, shimmering lace and gele of bright green, silver, and gold. Drummers pounded away in excitement as guests clapped, danced, and sprayed naira notes into the air. It was the wedding of Elizabeth Adeyemi, a woman who had waited all her life for this day. She looked like a dream, her white gown sparkling with sequins that caught the evening light, her veil falling gently over her glowing face. Her heart thumped loudly inside her chest, but it was not fear, it was joy. Finally, after years of waiting, she had found her man. Alex, tall, dark, handsome, the kind of man her friends teased her about. He was loving, successful, and most importantly, he had chosen her. Elizabeth's friends kept whispering behind her back all week. Lizzie Don finally Hummero, this one not correct husband material. Elizabeth smiled at those words. She believed it. The church choir began to sing softly as Elizabeth walked down the aisle, holding her father's arm. The eyes of everyone in the hall followed her. Phones clicked, cameras flashed, women whispered in admiration. Even the men nodded, whispering to each other about her beauty.
Her father leaned close to her ear. "Lizzie," he said softly, smiling through tears, "I am proud of you, my daughter." Elizabeth swallowed hard, tears threatening to ruin her makeup. "Daddy, thank you. I just wish Mommy was here to see this day." Her father squeezed her hand. "She's watching from heaven, my dear." Elizabeth smiled faintly as they reached the altar. Alex was standing there, dressed in a blue suit, looking like a prince. His eyes sparkled when he saw her. "Wow," he whispered, even before the pastor signaled for the veil to be lifted. "My queen." The congregation erupted in applause as Elizabeth joined him at the altar. The pastor raised his hand for silence. "Today, The pastor's voice boomed. We join these two hearts together in holy matrimony. What God has joined, let no man put asunder. Everyone shouted, Amen! The ceremony went smoothly. Elizabeth repeated every word carefully. Alex's voice was strong and clear when he said, For better, for worse, till death do us part. Guests nodded approvingly. Some women dabbed their eyes with handkerchiefs. It was a perfect wedding. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. By the authority vested in me, the pastor said, smiling, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. The hall erupted in cheers. Drummers hit their talking drums louder. People jumped on their seats, ready to spray money when the kiss landed. Alex reached for Elizabeth's veil. Elizabeth closed her eyes, her lips trembling slightly, ready for her husband's kiss. Then it happened. The moment Alex lifted the veil and looked into her face, he froze. His smile vanished, his hands shook, his eyes widened in pure terror. He staggered backward. Jesus! Everyone gasped. What happened? A woman in the crowd shouted. Elizabeth's eyes flew open. She tried to smile at Alex, but confusion gripped her as she saw him staring at her as though she was a monster. Alex, what's wrong? She whispered. But Alex's lips quivered. His eyes darted from her face to the pastor and back. His chest rose and fell as if he was suffocating. He screamed at the top of his voice, Her face! Oh my God, her face is a goat! The entire hall erupted in chaos. What? Goat? Pastor, see her face! Blood of Jesus! Elizabeth blinked in confusion. What are you saying? It's me, Lizzie! But the crowd was already screaming and scattering. Women pulled their children away. Men jumped from their seats, pointing at her. Some covered their eyes. Others grabbed chairs, as if to defend themselves from evil. The pastor himself stumbled backward, dropping his Bible. His lips trembled as he muttered prayers under his breath. Elizabeth reached for her husband. Alex, please, don't do this to me. But Alex had already fainted on the altar, his best man rushing to catch him before he hit the ground.
Elizabeth turned to the crowd. Please, someone tell me what is happening. I'm still me. Can't you see? But to them, her beautiful face was no longer there. What they saw was the head of a goat sitting on her shoulders, horns, snout, and all. The crowd roared louder. She's possessed! Na marine spirit! Devil's child! Phones came out. People began recording, whispering in Yoruba, Igbo, and Pidgin. Elizabeth's best friend, Grace, pushed through the chaos, grabbed her trembling hands, and whispered fiercely, Lizzie, we need to leave now. Just walk with me. Elizabeth shook her head violently. No, Grace, this is my wedding. My life cannot scatter like this. Tears ran down her cheeks, smudging her makeup. I waited all these years for Alex. Why today? Why now? Grace pulled her close, holding her face in her palms, her own eyes brimming with tears. Lizzie, I'm so sorry. I never knew this would happen. I should never have taken you there. Elizabeth frowned, her voice cracking. Taken me? Where? Grace bit her lip. Her voice trembled as she said, To Loretta's shop. Elizabeth's body stiffened. She looked around the hall again, at the chaos, at her unconscious husband-to-be, at the screaming guests. Her heart pounded like a drum as she realized her entire destiny had just shattered in one moment.
and it all traced back to Loretta, a woman who made a dangerous covenant in the graveyard.
Long before people whispered her name in fear, Loretta was just an ordinary teenage girl. Her story didn't begin in wealth or glamour. It began in the small compound of her parents' house in Surulere. Loretta Ferguson was the only daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson, simple civil servants who believed education was the golden ticket for their child. They worked hard, even sold pieces of land just to send her to a private secondary school. But life has a way of rewriting people's plans. At 16, Loretta met James, a final-year university student who lived 2 streets away. He had charm, smooth words, and the kind of confidence that made young girls believe every promise. He would walk her home after school, buy her puff-puff and soft drinks at the kiosk, whisper sweet words about a future together. "Loretta," James said one evening as they strolled past the football field, "I don't care what anybody says. One day you'll be my wife. I'll take you abroad. We'll live in a big house and you'll never suffer." Loretta blushed, her heart racing. "Are you serious, James?" He touched her cheek gently. "More serious than I've ever been in my life." But promises are cheap. Months later, Loretta discovered she was pregnant. She was terrified, but she trusted James. She went to him with trembling hands, her voice shaking. "James, I'm carrying your baby." Instead of joy or support, James's face hardened. "Are you mad? Don't ever say that nonsense again." Loretta's lips quivered. "James, it's true. I did the test. It's positive." He shoved her hand away. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't involve me in your mess. Do you want to ruin my life?" Loretta's knees buckled. "But James—" He cut her off with a bitter laugh. "If you know what's good for you, never call my name again. That child is not mine." That was the last time she saw him. He left Surulere soon after, and just like that, Loretta's dreams collapsed.
The Fergusons were devastated. Mr. Ferguson slapped his thigh in frustration the day Loretta confessed. "Loretta, after all our sacrifice, after everything, you ruined your life." Her mother wept bitterly. "At your age? Chai, how do we explain this to our family, to the church?" But when baby Binta arrived months later, the anger in their hearts slowly melted. The child was innocent, her tiny cries filling the house like fragile music. Loretta, still barely a girl herself, wrapped her arms around the baby and whispered, "Don't worry, my love. I will never leave you." Yet the reality was harsh. Loretta dropped out of school. She watched her mates wear graduation gowns while she stayed home breastfeeding. Every time she heard girls laughing outside, her heart ached. But she didn't give up. Mrs. Ferguson, tired of watching her daughter waste away, took her to Mama Esther, a popular makeup artist and hairstylist in the area. "Mama Esther," she pleaded, "please, Take my daughter as your apprentice. She has made mistakes, but she wants to change. Teach her this work so she can feed her child." Mama Esther, a plump woman with kind eyes, agreed. From that day, Loretta began her journey as an apprentice. The first months were hard. She woke up before dawn, strapped Binta to her back, and carried her to the shop. She cleaned floors, fetched water, washed combs, and massaged clients' heads for hours. Sometimes customers insulted her. "You dey scratch my head? I be you no sabi this work," one woman snapped. Loretta bowed her head, swallowing tears. "Sorry, ma." But slowly she learned. She practiced braiding on mannequins until her fingers ached. She learned how to mix foundation to match different skin tones. She watched Mama Esther transform tired faces into radiant beauty. Years passed. Loretta grew skilled. People began to notice her gentle hands and creative touch. Some clients even asked for her specifically. "I beg, make Loretta do my gele. That girl sabi tie it well," one bride told Mama Esther. By the time Loretta turned 20, she had completed her 4-year training. Mama Esther organized a small freedom ceremony, blessing her with a little cash to start her own business. It was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter. Just weeks after Loretta's freedom, tragedy struck like lightning. One Sunday evening, Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson boarded a taxi after church. They never made it home. A drunk driver rammed into their car on the 3rd mainland bridge. Both died instantly. Loretta was home that day, sick with malaria, cradling little Binta when the news arrived. Neighbors crowded their compound, wailing, "Aya! Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson don dio." Loretta dropped the baby, screamed until her throat went hoarse, and fainted on the floor. When she woke up hours later, her entire world had changed. She was now an orphan, a single mother, and completely alone. At the burial, she sat beside the coffins, clutching her daughter, crying so hard, her chest felt like it would break. "Mummy, Daddy, why did you leave me? How will I survive now?"
After the burial, Loretta used the little money her parents left behind to rent a tiny shop in a corner of the city annex. It was bare, with cracked walls and a tin roof that leaked when it rained. She bought second-hand combs, one old hairdryer, and a few makeup kits. On the day she opened, she dressed neatly, tied her gale, and prayed, "God, please bless the work of my hands. Let customers come." But the customers didn't come. She waited hours, only for one young girl to walk in. After struggling for nearly 2 hours, Loretta finished her braids. The girl frowned. You too slow. Madame Kemi from Market Side fit do this thing in 30 minutes. Loretta forced a smile. "Sorry, Ma. Next time I'll be faster." But there was no next time. While her competitors, Madame Kemi and Augusta, had shops full of modern dryers, curling machines, and apprentices buzzing around, Loretta's shop stayed quiet. Sometimes she styled 3 women in a day. Sometimes only 1. And sometimes none at all. She would lock the shop in the evening, carry Binta on her back, and cry all the way home. It wasn't just the lack of customers, it was the humiliation. One afternoon, Loretta stood in front of her shop when Augusta, One of her rivals walked past with 4 apprentices carrying boxes of equipment. Augusta smirked. "Loretta, how market? I hear say you dey style only 2 customers per week. Hey ya, you go soon pack up." The apprentices laughed loudly, mocking her. Loretta turned away quickly, blinking back tears. At night, she cried silently beside her sleeping daughter. "God, why is my life like this? Why did you take my parents away? Why am I suffering so much? Binta doesn't deserve this." She looked at her tiny face, her little chest rising and falling. "I must find a way, my child. I must." Months passed, but nothing changed. Her debts piled up. Landlords knocked on her door. Baby Binta often went to bed hungry. One evening, after returning from another empty day at the shop, Loretta collapsed on the floor. She buried her face in her hands and wept uncontrollably. "God, please show me mercy. Help me." Her cries echoed into the night. That was the night Loretta made a decision that would change everything.
The moon was pale that night, hanging low like a lonely eye in the sky. The streets of the annex were already quiet, shops locked, stray dogs barking in the distance, the faint hum of a generator breaking the silence. Loretta clutched the small hand of her daughter, Binta, as they walked slowly toward the graveyard. The child was barely 4 years old, too young to understand the weight of her mother's decision. "Mommy, where are we going?" asked Binta in her tiny voice. Loretta squeezed her hand tighter. "We're going to see Grandpa and Grandma," she whispered, though her voice trembled. In truth, her heart was racing like a drum. Sweat gathered on her forehead despite the cool night breeze. She carried a lantern, its weak yellow glow bouncing on the dusty road. Every step closer to the cemetery made her stomach tighten. 1,000 times she wanted to turn back. 1,000 times she told herself, "This is madness." But hunger had no mercy. Earlier that day, Binta had cried herself to sleep because there was no food. Loretta had sat on the floor, hugging her, whispering lies like, "Tomorrow will be better." But tomorrow never got better. So here she was, at the edge of the graveyard, the heavy iron gate creaking as she pushed it open. The cemetery was quiet, too quiet. Tombstones stood like silent guards, some cracked, some leaning sideways. The air was heavy, damp, and smelled of earth. Loretta walked straight to the twin graves of her parents. She knelt there, set the lantern down, and bowed her head. Her tears came before her words. "Nama, Papa," she cracked, "I don't know what else to do. Since you left, my life has been nothing but sorrow. I tried to work hard. I tried to stand on my own, but I am failing. Binta is suffering. I can't feed her. I can't give her the life you wanted for me." Her chest heaved as sobs escaped her. She clutched the soil of the grave as though she could pull her parents back. "Please,
If your spirits can hear me, help me. I don't care how, I just need help." The wind suddenly picked up, blowing out the lantern. Darkness swallowed the graveyard. Binta whimpered, "Mommy, I'm scared." "Shh, my baby. Don't be afraid." But even she was trembling inside. Then, out of the silence, came a low hum. It wasn't human. It was like many voices singing at once, soft and eerie, rising from beneath the ground. Loretta froze. "Mama? Papa?" The soil on the graves shifted. The air grew colder. A faint mist crawled along the ground, swirling around Loretta and Binta. And then they came.
Figures began to emerge, shadowy at first, then clear. Pale, glowing bodies stepped out of the graves, dozens of them, their eyes like dim lanterns in the night. Some were old, some young, but all of them silent except for the sound of that humming. Loretta gasped, pulling Binta behind her. "Jesus Christ!" And once a tall female spirit stepped forward, her face almost familiar. Loretta. The spirit's voice was soft yet thunderous, echoing like many voices in one. Loretta's knees buckled. She recognized the face. "Mama." The spirit reached out her glowing hand. "We have heard your cries." Loretta burst into tears, falling flat on the grave. "Mama, Papa, please help me. I am tired of suffering. I can't do this alone. Please, I beg you." The spirits around her moved in a slow circle, their humming rising like a hymn. The tall spirit, her mother, spoke again. "You want success, Loretta?" "Yes," Loretta shouted desperately. "I want my business to grow. I want to feed my child. I want customers. Please, Mama." The spirit nodded. "We can give you what you ask for. But remember, nothing is free in this world. Every blessing comes with a price." Loretta's body shook. "Price? What price?" The spirit raised her glowing hand, and instantly, before Loretta's eyes, boxes of glittering items appeared. Hair attachments in every color, shining lipsticks, foundations of every shade, powders, brushes, mirrors, dryers, curling irons, equipment Loretta had never even seen before. Loretta gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "My God!" The spirit's voice grew louder. "These are the tools of your destiny. With them, your shop will never be empty. Women will queue for your touch. You will be the most desired stylist in this city. Your name will spread far and wide." Loretta's eyes widened, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, yes, that is what I want." The spirit paused. "But you must obey our law. Never keep your shop open after 5 o'clock. Never touch a customer once the sun has gone down. If you break this covenant, all you have will be taken, and worse shall follow." Loretta nodded quickly, not even thinking twice. I agree to everything. Please, just bless me." The spirit extended her hand again. Out of the mist, women appeared, beautiful, tall, flawless. Their skin glowed faintly, their eyes dark and deep. They were dressed in simple wrappers, their hair tied back. "These will be your workers. They know every style, every touch. They will not speak,
They will not eat, they will only work. With them you will conquer your rivals." Loretta stared, her heart pounding. "Workers, for me." "Yes," the spirit said, "but remember the law. By 5 o'clock your work must end. Do you understand?" Loretta nodded quickly. "Yes, Mama, I understand." The spirits around her let out one final hum, and suddenly everything disappeared. The mist faded, the ground was still again. Loretta blinked in shock. At her feet, stacked neatly, were boxes of cosmetics and equipment, more than she had ever dreamed.
Binta tugged her mother's dress. "Mommy, who were those people?" Loretta picked up the child with trembling hands. "They were your grandparents. They have helped us." The little girl frowned. "But they looked scary." Loretta kissed her forehead. "Don't be afraid, my love. Our suffering has ended." As she walked back home with the strange boxes, her body shook with a mix of fear and excitement. Part of her knew she had crossed a dangerous line. But another part, the desperate, hungry mother, rejoiced. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "my life will change forever." The next morning, neighbors gathered in shock outside Loretta's shop. Overnight, the bare, broken shop had transformed. Brand new chairs gleamed. Huge mirrors lined the walls. Shelves overflowed with shiny cosmetics. And then they saw them, the women. Beautiful, silent women standing behind each chair, ready to work. Nobody knew where Loretta had found them. Nobody knew how she had afforded such equipment. Loretta, now you get all this," Madame Kemi gasped, her mouth hanging open. Loretta only smiled. "Yes, God has answered my prayers." But inside, she knew it wasn't God. By mid-morning, her shop was full. Women crowded the entrance, desperate to be styled. One customer sat down, nervous. "I beg, make them try my gele wello. I get wedding for afternoon." In less than 5 minutes, the ghost worker had tied the gele perfectly. The woman looked in the mirror and gasped, "Jesus, is this me?" Her friends screamed in delight. "Ah, see fine babe." Word spread like wildfire. By noon, Loretta's shop was packed, the queue stretching down the street. Madame Kemi and Augusta stood at their own shops, staring in disbelief as customers abandoned them. "Which kind of juju is this?" Augusta whispered. But Loretta sat inside her shop, watching money flow into her hands, her heart racing with excitement. She thought of her parents, of the graveyard, and of the warning. "Never you open your shop once it passed 5 o'clock." She nodded to herself. "I will obey. I must never break the rule." That night, after closing exactly at 5, Loretta locked the shop and carried her daughter home. She lay in bed, smiling for the first time in years. "Binta, we are free. No more hunger." By the next week, the annex street was unrecognizable. Loretta's once empty shop had become a carnival ground. Women from every corner of Lagos flooded the place. Brides-to-be, working-class ladies, campus girls, even married women sneaking in for a quick fix. By 7 a.m., the shop was full. Cars lined the street. Hawkers gathered, smelling opportunity. "Buy pour water, buy puff-puff," hawkers shouted, as women fanned themselves, waiting for their turn. Inside, the transformation was magical. The ghost workers glided across the shop like shadows, their hands moving swiftly, their faces blank. A gele that normally took 40 minutes was done in 5. Braids that should last a day were finished in 2 hours. Every customer left gasping at their reflection. "Chai, I no say I fine like this, oh. See my lips, abeg this lipstick, where did you get it from?" Loretta only smiled, pocketing money. "Exclusive products, madame. You won't find them anywhere else."
Meanwhile, across the street, Madame Kemi's salon was silent. She sat outside, fanning herself, her apprentices yawning. Not a single customer had entered since morning. She watched as women carried chairs to Loretta's shop just to sit and wait. "This thing isn't pure," Kemi muttered. "How would Loretta suddenly get all this equipment? Yesterday she was crying, today she's the queen." Augusta joined her, folding her arms. "Na juju, my sister, I swear. See those girls where they work for her. Them know they talk, them know they chop. I stand there for 2 hours, not even one of them drink water." Kemi spat on the ground. "Mark my words, this thing won't end well." But for now, Loretta was untouchable. Meanwhile, little Binta had grown into a curious child. She loved makeup, always helping her mother sweep the shop, arrange powders, and hand lipsticks to customers. But she noticed strange things about her mother's workers. One day, she whispered to her mom, "Mommy, why don't your staff talk?" Loretta froze. "They're just shy, my daughter." "But they don't eat, they don't laugh, they don't even greet me." Loretta forced a smile. "That's how they are. Focus on your own work." As Loretta's empire grew, her competitors died slowly. Madame Kemi sold her equipment and relocated to her village. Augusta tried to survive by slashing prices, but her shop remained empty. "Everybody only wants Loretta now," Augusta wept to her husband. "Can you imagine? Even brides now book her 6 months ahead." Loretta, meanwhile, bought new clothes, jewelry, and even started sponsoring church programs. People called her the Queen of Beauty. But behind every smile, behind every powder and lipstick, destinies were being stolen. While Loretta's fame was on the rise, Elizabeth Adeyemi, a stunning 28-year-old lady, was about getting married. She had waited for years. After several heartbreaks, she had finally met Alex, a man who loved her deeply and promised her forever. The preparations were in full swing. Asoebi had been distributed, the hall was booked, and friends were already teasing her. "Lizzie, no dolo, na this one go carry you go permanent site," Grace, her best friend, teased. "Abeg, leave me. I just want everything to be perfect." But perfection has a way of slipping away when destiny is tampered with.
1 week to the wedding, Elizabeth had already booked Toyin, a well-known professional makeup artist, to handle her bridal look. But on the wedding day, just hours before the ceremony,
Her phone buzzed. "Hello? Toyin? Where are you?" Elizabeth asked, panic in her voice. The voice on the other end was shaky. "Lizzie, I'm so sorry. I can't make it. I had an accident on my way. My hand is fractured. Please forgive me." Elizabeth froze. "What? Toyin, you can't do this to me. My wedding is in a few hours." "I swear, it's not my fault. Please, try to find someone else." Elizabeth hung up, her heart racing. She grabbed her headscarf. "Oh God, what am I going to do now?" Just then, Grace, her friend, stormed into the room, her gele half-tied, sweat on her forehead. "Lizzie, why the panic?" "Toyin canceled. My makeup artist canceled," Elizabeth cried, tears filling her eyes. Grace froze for a second, then bit her lip. Okay, don't cry. There's still a solution." Elizabeth looked up desperately. "What solution?" Grace hesitated. She knew it was risky. She knew the stories, but time was running out. "Loretta's shop," she whispered. "Who?" "Haven't you heard of Loretta? The entire city can't stop talking about her. Her makeup is pure magic. Brides walk out of her shop looking like royalty. Trust me, she's the best." Elizabeth frowned. "But isn't there something strange about her?" Grace waved her hand sharply, her eyes blazing with urgency. "Lizzie, this is your wedding day. Do you want to walk down the aisle looking ordinary? Think of Alex. Think of the guests waiting to see you shine. We don't have a second to waste." Elizabeth's chest heaved. She had heard rumors about Loretta's shop, but desperation silenced her doubts. "Okay, let's go."
By the time they reached Loretta's shop, it was already past 5 p.m. The street was quiet, unlike the usual bustling mornings. The big iron shutters of the shop were down, the signboard above reflecting the last orange glow of sunset. Elizabeth's heart sank. "It's closed." Grace banged on the door. "Binta, please, anybody inside?" Just then, the door creaked open slightly. Standing there was Dinta, clutching a bunch of keys, her school uniform still on. She looked at them with wide eyes. "We're closed. Come back tomorrow." Elizabeth rushed forward, almost kneeling. "Please, I beg you. My wedding is tonight. My makeup artist canceled. I need help. Just this once." Binta froze. Her mother's warning rang in her ears. Never you open the shop after 5 p.m. Never. She shook her head firmly. "I'm sorry, my mummy said no customers after 5 o'clock." Grace stepped forward, desperation dripping from her voice. "Binta, please now. This is my best friend's wedding. Just help us. Nobody will know." Elizabeth added quickly, her hands trembling. "I'll pay you anything. $500. Please, I beg you." Binta's chest tightened. She loved makeup. She had been waiting for a chance to prove herself. And here was a bride begging, money in her hand. But her mother's voice thundered in her memory. "Never you open the shop once it passed 5. Binta turned her back, shaking her head. "I can't. I'll get in trouble." Elizabeth grabbed her hand, tears streaming down her face. "Binta, please, you're a woman too. You know how important this day is for me. Do you want me to stand before my husband looking like nothing? Please, help me, just this once." Grace added urgently, "Think of it as saving a life. Lizzie will die if she goes without makeup." Binta's hands shook. Her heart pounded. She looked from Elizabeth's pleading face to the locked shop. Finally, she whispered, almost against her will, "Okay, just this once." She unlocked the door. The shop was dimly lit.
shadows stretching across the mirrors. The ghost workers were nowhere to be seen. They always vanished after 5. Binta switched on the light, her hands trembling. "Sit down." Elizabeth quickly obeyed, relief flooding her face. Binta opened the drawers, pulling out powders, foundations, brushes. Her fingers moved skillfully, just like her mother's. She dabbed foundation across Elizabeth's cheeks, sculpted her eyebrows, painted her lips with a shimmering red. Grace watched in awe. "Ah, Binta, you're damn good." Elizabeth stared into the mirror, her eyes widening. "Oh my God, I look perfect." Indeed, her face glowed like the morning sun, her beauty sharpened into something almost unreal. Elizabeth hugged Binta tightly. Thank you, you've saved my life." She dropped the $500 on the table, grabbed her purse, and rushed out with Grace. As they left, the lights flickered. A cold breeze swept through the room, blowing powders across the floor. Binta froze, her stomach twisting. She heard faint whispers in the air, like a chorus of angry voices. "You have broken the covenant." Her hands trembled. "No, it was just one time." The mirrors quivered. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. Binta ran out, locking the shop behind her, her chest pounding. She didn't know it yet, but the mistake had already been made. Back at the wedding hall, Elizabeth arrived glowing. Guests gasped when they saw her. Music filled the air. The courtyard of Christ Covenant Hall was alive with color, shimmering lace and gelée of bright green, silver, and gold. Drummers pounded away in excitement as guests clapped, danced, and sprayed Naira notes into the air. It was the wedding of Elizabeth Adeyemi, a woman who had waited all her life for this day. She looked like a dream, her white gown sparkling with sequins that caught the evening light, her veil falling gently over her glowing face. Her heart thumped loudly inside her chest, but it was not fear, it was joy. Finally, after years of waiting, she had found her man, Alex, tall, dark, handsome, the kind of man her friends teased her about. He was loving, successful, and most importantly, he had chosen her. Her friends kept whispering behind her back all week. "Lizzie done finally hamao, this one not correct husband material." Elizabeth smiled at those words. She believed it.
The church choir began to sing softly as Elizabeth walked down the aisle, holding her father's arm. The eyes of everyone in the hall followed her. Phones clicked, cameras flashed, women whispered in admiration. Even the men nodded, whispering to each other about her beauty. Her father leaned close to her ear. "Lizzie," he said softly, smiling through tears, "I am proud of you, my daughter." Elizabeth swallowed hard, tears threatening to ruin her makeup. "Daddy, thank you. I just wish Mummy was here to see this day." Her father squeezed her hand. "She's watching from heaven, my dear." Elizabeth smiled faintly as they reached the altar. Alex was standing there, dressed in a white agbada with silver embroidery, looking like a prince. His eyes sparkled when he saw her. "Wow," he whispered, even before the pastor signaled for the veil to be lifted. "My queen." The congregation erupted in applause as Elizabeth joined him at the altar. The pastor raised his hand for silence. "Today," the pastor's voice boomed, "we join these two hearts together in holy matrimony. What God has joined, let no man put asunder." Everyone shouted, "Amen!" The ceremony went smoothly. Elizabeth repeated every word carefully. Alex's voice was strong and clear when he said, "For better, for worse, till death do us part." Guests nodded approvingly. Some women dabbed their eyes with handkerchiefs. It was a perfect wedding. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. "By the authority vested in me," the pastor said, smiling, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." The hall erupted in cheers. Drummers hit their talking drums louder. People jumped on their seats, ready to spray money when the kiss landed. Alex reached for Elizabeth's veil. Elizabeth closed her eyes, her lips trembling slightly, ready for her husband's kiss. Then it happened. The moment Alex lifted the veil and looked into her face, he froze. His smile vanished. His hands shook. His eyes widened in pure terror. He staggered backward. "Jesus!" Everyone gasped. "What happened?" a woman in the crowd shouted. Elizabeth's eyes flew open. She tried to smile at Alex, but confusion gripped her as she saw him staring at her as though she was a monster. "Alex, what's wrong?" she whispered. But Alex's lips quivered. His eyes darted from her face to the pastor and back. His chest rose and fell as if he was suffocating. He screamed at the top of his voice, "Her face! Oh my God! Her face is a goat!" The entire hall erupted in chaos. "What? Goat? See her face! Blood of Jesus!" Elizabeth blinked in confusion. "What are you saying? It's me, Lizzie." But the crowd was already screaming and scattering. Women pulled their children away. Men jumped from their seats, pointing at her. Some covered their eyes. Others grabbed chairs as if to defend themselves from evil. The pastor himself stumbled backward, dropping his Bible. His lips trembled as he muttered prayers under his breath. Elizabeth reached for her husband. "Alex, please, don't do this to me." But Alex had already fainted on the altar, his best man rushing to catch him before he hit the ground.
Elizabeth turned to the crowd. "Please, someone tell me what is happening. I'm still me, can't you see?" But to them, her beautiful face was no longer there. What they saw was the head of a goat sitting on her shoulders, horns, snout, and all. The crowd roared louder. "She's possessed! Namarin spirit! Devil's child!" Phones came out. People began recording, whispering in Yoruba, Igbo, and Pidgin. Elizabeth's best friend, Grace, pushed through the chaos, grabbed her trembling hands, and whispered fiercely, "Lizzie, we need to leave now. Just walk with me." Elizabeth shook her head violently. "No, Grace! This is my wedding! My life cannot scatter like this!" Tears ran down her cheeks, smudging her makeup. "I waited all these years for Alex. Why today? Why now?" Grace pulled her close, holding her face in her palms. Her own eyes brimmed with tears. "Lizzie, I'm so sorry. I never knew this would happen. I should never have taken you there." Elizabeth frowned, her voice cracking. "Taken me where?" Grace bit her lip. Her voice trembled as she said, "To Loretta's shop." Elizabeth's body stiffened. She looked around the hall again, at the chaos, at her unconscious husband-to-be, at the screaming guests. Her heart pounded like a drum as she realized her entire destiny had just shattered in one moment. Elizabeth looked around desperately, tears blinding her eyes. She couldn't understand. She still saw herself as beautiful. But to everyone else, her face had transformed into that of a goat. Long snout, sharp teeth, glowing eyes. Phones flashed. Videos circulated instantly. Within minutes, her humiliation was on WhatsApp statuses across the city. Bride turns to goat at the altar. Thank you for watching. Please stick to this channel. We have beautiful videos coming your way.